we're not going to always be comfortable on our career journey. But I do think that in those uncomfortable times, there are lessons to be learned. Um, I also learned on this journey that, being as I climbed and progressed in my career, the higher I got, the more often I found myself the only female, the only African American in the room, and also being comfortable in those situations. We hear the proverbial statement, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And it really rings true. I mean, if you are one where you find yourself having to be comfortable in every situation, I don't know that success is truly for you in that respect, because you have to be able to find your voice and use your voice for the opportunity that's given to you. I think back to when I was in fifth grade and being the only in my classroom. I went to an elementary school in Fort Worth, Texas, and this was in the 80s. And I was the only African American in my class. And I remember noticing that. And I didn't really have an uncomfortable feeling until something happened. One day, our teacher was absent, and we had a substitute teacher, and she rolls in the video. So typically, kids are excited about video. Ooh, we get to watch a movie today. And I remember very, very well. It was Bill Cosby, stand-up comedian, talking about Black families and joking about things that typically happen in Black families. And of course, today I would laugh at that because a lot of what he said is true. But as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old fifth grader, being the only Black in my class, it made me very, very uncomfortable. So I remember asking the sub if I could go to the restroom, and I sat in the restroom until the video was over. So you're talking maybe 45 minutes. And the next day, when our teacher came back, I talked to my parents about it, and they encouraged me to talk to her about it. And I talked to my teacher the next day, and she took my face in her hands. And I remember she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "Shunda, I never ever wanted you to feel uncomfortable. I have purposely not taught on things like the Civil War because I never wanted you to feel uncomfortable. You are so important to me, so important to this class." And she hugged me. And I remember Miss Carolyn Estes, and I recently looked her up, and she passed away a few years ago. But that was such a pivotal moment for me, owning my voice as an African American female and embracing it for all that it is. Even if I find myself being the only in situations, there's power being the only when you embrace that power. And that was a hard lesson. And that was, imagine that was hard for a fifth grader to take my voice and use it for good. And that's what I consider myself doing today, is taking my voice as an African American female executive and using it for good to help other people realize their voice.